All right, guys, welcome to Island Hopper TV. Today we're going to talk about things to know when visiting Montana, the Big Sky State. Let's do it. First thing to talk about in Montana is transportation. The rumors about the nationwide car shortage, they're true, and it's very apparent here in Montana. Lots of people coming into Montana. They want to visit, they want to move here. Montana is becoming a very popular place. With that being said, there's not much infrastructure to support all of that new traffic coming in, whether it be the visitors or the people who are moving here. There's not enough hotels, there's not enough rental cars, and it's a problem. Now, they do have the airports that you can get in and out of several different hubs that fly into major cities. They got Delta flying in here, but Montana has a transportation issue. The roads, there are roads, and there is an Amtrak that comes in here, but again, there's a problem with the amount, just supply and demand here. All right, guys, the next thing to know is Montana has a low population density. It is the fourth largest state in the United States behind Alaska, Texas, and California. With that being said, the eastern part of the Montana, past the Rockies, east of the Rockies, right? The Canadian Rockies, the American Rockies, is flat. It's plains all the way towards North Dakota. Not a lot in between there. It's no man's land. They even have a town out there that claims to be no man's land, Montana. Okay, now once you get into the Rockies, though, there are several towns, and that's where the big ones are. You have Missoula, you have Bozeman, you have Billings, which is actually further east, you have Helena, and then you have Whitefish, which is where I'm at right now. But this is the area most people want to go to, is in the Rockies. So when you guys come out to Montana, you're probably going to want to visit Glacier National Park, the forest around the area. Now, what you're going to discover when you get here is accommodation is limited. If you go over towards Missoula from here, that's the closest big city from Glacier. But when you're getting around here, you're going to discover the lack of accommodation is going to lead to higher prices. Camping in the national park is hard to get passes into there. So you do want to plan ahead of time if you plan on visiting the national parks here in Montana or the state parks, because access is limited. So I'm just putting that out there. Plan ahead of time. So here's something to know about the daytime and nighttime in the seasons. So as it gets closer to the solstice, in the summertime, the summer solstice, the days are longer. 10 o'clock, sometimes even approaching 11 o'clock, you're still going to have daylight in Montana because the days are longer. It's higher up. In the wintertime, it's the opposite. The days are shorter, so you get more darkness in the winter time up here in Montana as you get closer to the solstice, that being December 22nd. June is the summer solstice. So keep that in mind when you come out here. You're going to have more daylight in the summertime and less daylight in the winter. The types of food and cuisine you'll come across out here in Montana will range from bison, steaks, buffalo burgers, elk burgers, which we saw up in Glacier National Park, venison bratwurst, which I also had up there. They have wild huckleberries that you can get, cinnamon buns made with Montana wheat, just a variety of different cuisine that you'll come across up here that you'll want to try out, but in particular, the elk, the buffalo, the venison, any sort of wild, free-range deer, white-tailed deer, if you can get your hands on a steak or a slab of meat from a wild deer, there you go. But I know you guys want to know what kind of unique cuisine is out here. Well, there you go. Let's talk transportation in Montana. It is not the easiest place to get around unless you have a car. Public transportation is unreliable out here. The Amtrak goes along the northern part of the state, but most of the populated cities are south. So the Amtrak doesn't stop along any populated areas. Now, when it comes to Uber and Lyft, there's just not enough volume for the Uber and Lyft drivers to stay in business and really keep a steady, consistent pickup and drop off rate. So there are shuttles, but even the rental car companies, they're booked up. They've sold their inventory. Right now, it's really hard to get rental cars when you come out here. Turo is probably going to be your best option if you get into an area and you can book a car out of Turo. But like I said, public transportation in Montana, unreliable. Airports, there's no real big international airport here. All the international airports are small. The continental airport's small. Missoula, Whitefish, Bozeman, all very small airports, small aircraft, unreliable really. I know that's not going to be what you guys want to hear, but hey, that's been my experience so far. Something people want to know, is Montana safe? Well, let's answer that question. Most people in the wilderness are worried about grizzly bears, some sort of bear attack. It doesn't happen very often, but grizzlies, if you get too close, that can be a hazard to you and your family. So be conscious of that when you're hiking in the woods. Some people bring bear spray. Now, beyond the wild animals, you're going to have encounters with people who don't want you on their property. So if you're off in the backwoods, there's people out here, they got guns, they got rifles, and they might think you're a threat, believe it or not. So if you're out there in the dirt roads, going way back there, going onto someone's property, or even hiking or walking, think twice, because we do hear about people who will actually tell us right here in Montana, watch out for that. The next thing that you want to watch out for is the waterways. So they've got glacier water flowing down these mountains. They've got many rivers out here, and all that glacial water flow coming into those rivers can create swift currents, and you can get sucked in, dragged away, or some people, they just get too close to the edges. These rapids, these tides, these rivers move very quickly, and so water hazards are another thing. As far as driving out here with your family, it's going to be pretty safe. The roads are in fairly decent condition from my experience, although you do get some dirt roads with potholes. Another thing that I would say is when you're actually in the town in and of itself, it's been pretty safe. Okay, it's safe. I haven't had too many issues unless you're going out drinking and getting crazy with the wild locals. You're not going to have any issues with crime really out here. I mean, there are certain pockets of it, but it's not like it is around the rest of the country. It's a pretty safe place to go out. Here's something to know about the cities in Montana. Billings is actually the largest city, followed by Missoula. Okay, now they say that Bozeman is the #1 city to go to, but depending on who you ask, there might be critical reviews, but it's just north of Yellowstone. Now, Whitefish is a small town next to Glacier. You have several towns right there on the Flathead Valley, right there in the lake. Beautiful, it's like America's Switzerland. So when you come out here, do be prepared to go to the Rockies, the American Rockies as you would call them in Montana. Actually, Missoula, where we're at right now on the river, is actually pretty close to Idaho. Here's another thing to consider about coming out to Montana. Recreation. What will you do when you get here, aside from hiking and going into the wilderness, because that's a big part of your experience out here in Montana. That's probably what drove you to come out here in the beginning. Hunting, fishing, whitewater rafting. There's going to be lots of breweries that you can check out if you're into the cities and you're in the towns, trying different cuisines, different foods. Lots of different outdoor activities, including horseback riding. Most of it is going to be out in nature. As you saw in Missoula, they do have the wave for those of you who like to try surfing out in these rivers. Sometimes just swimming, taking a dip in the glacier water can be fun and refreshing. It can recharge you. It's like, I don't know how to explain it. You just got to try it. Once you swim in one of those glacier-filled lakes, it's invigorating, it's frozen, it's bone-chilling, all that. So outdoor activities, recreation, definitely Montana has you covered if you're an outdoors type. Let's talk cost and affordability. So if you're coming here with your own car, it's definitely going to be more affordable, especially if you're bringing your own RV accommodation. That's where you're going to save the most money. Housing and even accommodation is scarce out here, so it's going to be more expensive. The food, the cost of living, everything but the accommodation is going to be cheap. But if you come here looking for a car, you come here looking for an accommodation, a hotel room, even a campsite can be expensive, especially outside of the state parks or the national parks. For example, I went to one of these places, it was $85 to camp. Just camp with a tent. Granted, it had running water and electrical, but that I found to be expensive. Even for the RV, it was expensive. There are some areas that you can go to save money, but food, not expensive. So that's a relief, right? I mean, it's some of the most affordable food I've found anywhere in the country. Other areas where you're going to save money is going to be in the amount of free activities and entertainment that you can do, whether it be going to a lake or a river, although I did notice that they do tend to favor Montana residents for that over outsiders, because Montana residents, they get for free because they pay the taxes. You don't. Those kind of things keep in mind when it comes to cost, savings, and cost of visiting Montana. So let's talk about the flora and the fauna and the wildlife in Montana. Obviously, eastern Montana, it's very flat. It's like driving through Texas, really. It's big, long state, because Montana, at the end of the day, is one of the biggest states in the country, as I mentioned previously. Now, when you get to the Rockies out here in western Montana, it does start to get more hills, and that's where the wildlife and the great pine trees and the flowers and the smells and all those glacier lakes come into play. But the wildlife include brown bears, black bears, grizzly bears, moose, bullwinkle, yogi bear, right? Anyway, they don't have too much bison out here in the Rockies in the north, but down towards Yellowstone, you're gonna get some bison, but you're not gonna see buffalo and bison out here. Lots of white-tailed deer, elk, big old antlers, elk everywhere, beautiful birds, variety of different birds, really. Songbirds, blue jays, robins, gold eagles, bald eagles, beautiful birds. Also wolves. One of the things you really like out in the Rockies when you're on a lake, especially when it's really quiet, it's just you in the wilderness, you can hear the wolves echoing across the lake. You'll hear the gold eagle, the bald eagle. You can hear them echoing across the lake. That's a really nice feeling, and it really makes you feel like you're in the wild blue yonder. Montana, at the end of the day, is the big sky. Just some interesting facts you may find unique about Montana. It's got more cattle than it does people. It's pretty good for you, meat eaters out there, I would say. More bookstores than any other state in the nation. The largest landlocked state in terms of area. Obviously, Texas is bigger, but it borders with the Gulf Coast, doesn't it? Alaska, it has ocean around it, the Aleutian Islands. Also, this is a pretty good place to go to public university, and just some interesting facts right there. Oh, one more thing. It's actually home to the first national park, if you want to consider Yellowstone part of Montana. Obviously, most of Yellowstone is in Wyoming, a little bit in Idaho, a little bit in Montana, but still home to the first national park. Glacier being the main national park that Montana is known for. Montana is one of the only states, actually it is the only state with a triple divide. What that means is that it provides water to 3 different bodies of ocean: the Pacific, Hudson Bay, and the Atlantic. So water originates here, and the tributaries dump into those 3 bodies of ocean water. That's pretty interesting, considering how much power that would take to go to the Pacific. I mean, obviously you guys know about the Columbia River, some of these other rivers. You have the Mississippi. How much of that water from Montana pours into the Mississippi ultimately, which ends up in the Gulf or Atlantic? And then you have the other tributaries that ultimately lead down towards or up towards the Hudson Bay in Canada. All right, guys, there you know some more things about Montana. There's a lot to know. I touched on some of it, most of it. Hopefully you guys walk away from this Montana travel guide with more information. If you guys want to know more about this part of the country, the Pacific Northwest, we've got other videos. We've got one from Coeur d'Alene, Idaho Falls, Boise. We've got Missoula video. We've got Whitefish. We've got Glacier National Park. We've done Jackson, Wyoming, Yellowstone. That's what's up in this area right here. It's the Rockies. We don't have too much from down in Colorado, but I'd love for you guys to watch some of those other videos if you guys want to learn more about this area of the country. Because when you come up to Montana, that's what you're looking at. Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, right there on the Rockies. Beautiful place on planet Earth. Hope you guys enjoy this. If you did, hit the like button. Subscribe to this channel and watch some more of these videos right here, or here.